Hello, dear friends. I try to match weekly current events with the promises of heaven. Opinion piece. Strange days ahead. Turning point. Turbulent times. Historic moment. Confusing period. Uncharted waters. Next wave of health. Slow motion collapse. Economic uncertainty. Unprecedented volatility. Lockdown could be the trigger. This year will be transformative. Tumultuous and confusing landscape. Let's start. The expression strange days refers to a period of time marked by unusual, chaotic, or difficult to understand events. It describes historical moments that are bewildering or filled with uncertainty, where usual norms are suspended and people are faced with situations that challenge their understanding of the world. Strange days are ahead according to Mark Chaikin, who predicted the market crash in 2020. A massive and surprising transition could determine the next great wave of wealth, he said. And yet, even the most prepared may not learn about this new wave of wealth until long after it occurs, says Chaikin. This assertion is based on his ability to identify emerging trends before they manifest. According to Chaikin, those who manage to anticipate this transition and position themselves appropriately in the right sectors could benefit significantly. His approach underscores the importance of precise and strategic selection in an increasingly complex market. Opinions. Will we enjoy a halcyon 20s of exciting expansion or suffer a Great Depression 2.0? Asked Charles Hughes Smith. A major historical turning point is underway. According to Mark Sira, the government shutdown could be the trigger for switching to a new financial system. Dogecoin would be the cover for where all the money comes for ordinary people. Ripple would be the mechanism for the movement of money. Stock market shatters forecasts as political unrest escalates. Barely a few months into a year, Wall Street analysts are shattering their forecasts and drawing a fresh perspective after the market's shock this week. According to Ariel Proletario 1, this year will be transformative for everyone. With the tax cuts, I'll wait for people's financial situations to improve before making my next decision, he said. I don't know what the white hats are doing, but they are allowed the dark side to continue playing in the sandbox until steps are taken to officially and permanently subdue them. Close quotes. Trump moves toward his primary objective, the global reset, according to Alastair Crook. The president wants Ukraine resolved so he can move quickly toward normalizing relations with Russia and beginning the overall project of establishing a new geopolitical order that ends wars and facilitates trade relations. Coach Jerry says, look at the Trump administration in this second phase. Everything has consolidated and is moving at a breakneck pace. This slow, drawn-out coalition plan has actually been a beautiful and divinely gifted plan from the beginning. The growth is tremendous as we approach the peak of this movie. Despite all this, we have become numb to the word Zoom. Speculation has become synonymous with entertainment, and our latest concept is the gold and the end of the rainbow. Economy. Financial markets have experienced unprecedented volatility this week. JP Morgan sees an imminent relief rally, but then it fades. Gold surpasses $3,000 and keeps rising. According to Doug Casey, governments hate gold is a currency because it imposes a discipline on the amount of currency they can create. Gold is money. Governments can't create it out of thin air. You could say gold needs government as much as a fish needs a bicycle. Peter Schiff says it's time for an economic reckoning. Wall Street admits Doge's work is crucial to detoxifying the government, but it will be painful. Latinic explains Trump's plan to eliminate taxes on those earning less than $150,000. Tariffs are needed to defeat globalism, but they come at a cost, according to Brandon Smith. Manhattan apartment rents hit record high amid bidding war. Trump's push into cryptocurrencies could harm Europe's financial stability. Senate Banking Committee advances Genius stablecoin bill despite bank pushback. The countdown to Basel III begins. The gold crisis banks can't ignore. Basel III will be implemented in the US on July 1st, 2025. This much-needed change strengthens bank capital requirements, limits leverage, and increases liquidity requirements to reduce financial risk and improve the stability of the banking system. USA. Trump orders cut to 7 agencies, including the parent company of Voice of America. RFK Jr. warns against vaccination chickens against bird flu. Health Secretary calls for removing artificial dyes from food. Elon Musk remains the richest man in the world despite the war on Tesla. Mass cases of Elon Musk derangement syndrome are breaking out around the world. It includes bizarre tantrums and calling anyone he disagrees with a Nazi. Connecticut surpasses California as the richest state in the US. Pennsylvania is facing California-style blackouts. A bill in California would limit residents' ability to use lethal force to defend their property. The effort to deploy wind and solar systems faces growing grassroots opposition, according to Steve Gorman. Rainforest decimated to build a road for the UN Weather Change Summit in Brazil. SpaceX prepares a rescue mission for stranded astronauts. Harvard professor calls for firing of any faculty not supporting gender-affirming policies. The FBI is investigating a rise in threats targeting influential conservatives after the murder of InfoWars journalist Jamie White. The new head of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency protested the wastewater pollution of the Tijuana River affecting border communities in San Diego. The U.S. joins the Soros-funded list of countries that violate human rights along with China and North Korea, according to Luis Cornelio. Europe faces a late winter test of the resilience of its energy system. The EU retaliates after Trump's tariffs take effect, but the UK breaks with Europe and refuses to respond. As Germany debates conscription, gender equality means women would be drafted to fight and die for their country. Italy could be forced to grant citizenship to 2.5 million foreigners after the June referendum. Romanian MPs begin parliamentary strike over Georgescu's election expulsion. Orban criticizes Ukraine for attacking Russian pipeline bringing oil to Hungary. Ukraine. Britain also wants Ukraine's minerals. UK's Starmer will accelerate his military support for Ukraine. The British Prime Minister is killing economic growth, according to Rohan Jabari. Rutte rules out Ukraine's NATO membership and hints at normalization with Russia. The Marine Corps tells the Senate that the war in Ukraine is affecting its readiness. The idea that Europe could pose a military threat to Russia cannot even be considered low-quality propaganda for people with sub-zero IQs, according to Pepe Escobar. Meanwhile, Ursula von der Leyen rehearses her role as the would-be Joan of Arc in this political psychodrama. Putin calls for the surrender of all Ukrainians in Kursk and is sympathetic to Trump's request to save lives. Russian oil companies use cryptocurrencies for international trade. Asia. Beijing outraged by BlackRock and C.K. Hutchinson's Panama port deal. China's biggest challenge is finding ways to spend more money to revive its economy. A Chinese laboratory continues to receive US funding to conduct cruel experiments on beagles, dogs. China, Russia, and Iran will hold nuclear talks in Beijing after Tehran rejects Trump's offer. Middle East. Hamas to release American hostage after Trump administration intervention. Trump reverses his controversial plan. No one is expelling anyone from Gaza. Syria's new constitution enshrines Islamic Sharia law. Senator Graham admits that Syrian jihadists whom he once supported are massacring civilians. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.